Welcome to the Cozy Storytime, your peaceful space to unwind and relax. Before we start, make sure to subscribe and like the video for more cozy stories every night. So, where are you watching it from? And what are you doing right now? I hope you enjoyed this story. Take a moment to settle into a comfortable position. Loosen the tension in your shoulders. Unclench your jaw and breathe in slowly. Then out. Let the sounds around you fade into the background and allow your thoughts to soften like morning fog over quiet hills. This is your time, your calm corner in a restless world. A gentle invitation to pause, to listen, and to drift. Tonight, we'll take a slow walk into the rain-soaked corners of memory, through creaky floorboards and quiet echoes. Wrapped in the hush of midnight, outside the sea is heavy with clouds, and the soft patter of rain paints the window panes with a rhythm. The world seems to exhale, and you do too. As you close your eyes, imagine the soft scent of damp earth rising through the air. A breeze slipping through an open window, and the faint sound of footsteps that may or may not be there. This is not a story of fear, but of stillness. A tale of mystery, yes, but one that moves like fog and ends like a lullaby. You won't need to solve anything. You're simply here to listen, to feel, to follow where the footprints lead. So nestle deeper into your pillow or blanket. Let go of the weight you've been carrying all day and come along. The story begins when the rain returns. The rain has always been your quiet companion. It taps gently against the window pane of your second-floor apartment. A rhythm you've come to know better than your own heartbeat. You sit in the dim light of your living room, the air heavy with the scent of old pages from the book you haven't touched in days. Outside, the city blurs behind beads of water streaming down the glass, its chaos muted by the storm. The streetlights shimmer in pools of orange, casting slow, sleepy shadows across the walls. You breathe in slowly, holding your mug of warm tea close, the steam kissing your face like something half remembered. This is how your evenings usually go. Still, solitary, safe. There's a kind of peace in being alone with the rain, with no one to bother you, no one to expect anything from you. Just the soft, endless sound of water meeting earth. The wooden floor beneath your feet creaks ever so slightly as you shift your weight. You know each sound your apartment makes. The groan of the heating pipes, the whir of the fridge, the sigh of the wind curling under the windowsill. You've lived here long enough that it feels less like a space you rent and more like something that breathes with you. That night, however, there is a new sound. Subtle at first. You freeze mid-sip. A slow, deliberate step. Then another. Somewhere from the back of the apartment, near the hallway. You turn your head, waiting, your breath shallow. Nothing, just the hush of the rain. You tell yourself it's the building settling, or perhaps your mind playing tricks on you. Still, you stand, placing your mug down carefully on the coaster, the ceramic making the tiniest clink that sounds much too loud now. You walk quietly toward the hallway. The hallway is dark, and you don't bother with the lights. You know the way. A short stretch of narrow floor. A single picture frame on the left wall that always tilts slightly, no matter how many times you straighten it. You reach the end where your bedroom door stands half open, just as you left it. You push it open wider. Nothing unusual. No movement, no sound. Just the familiar clutter of your life. neatly folded clothes on the chair, a book half read on the nightstand. You step inside and glance at the floor. Dry. You check the window, still shut, locked. You linger for a few more seconds, then turn back. Your fingers brush the wall as you walk back into the living room, grounding yourself. Whatever it was, you didn't hear it again. Maybe it was the wind shifting through the vents, or something falling in the apartment above. Maybe nothing at all. Back on the couch, you sink into the cushions, but the spell of the evening has broken. Your tea is no longer warm, and your book stares up at you like a stranger. You pick it up anyway, flipping to the page you last marked. But the words don't hold you. Your mind drifts back to the sound, the rhythm of it. It wasn't random, at least not in the way your building normally groans. It was too measured, too slow, almost cautious, like someone walking barefoot on a cold floor. You close the book again and listen. Nothing, only the rain, steadier now, as if trying to lull you back into comfort. You let it. Eventually, your thoughts scatter, and your eyes grow heavy. You tell yourself you'll forget about it by morning. You always do. Sleep doesn't come easily, though. You toss gently beneath the covers, the sheets cool against your skin. You can hear the rain even more clearly here, near the window in your bedroom. It's rhythmic, soothing, almost like breathing. But still, you can't let go of the echo in your mind, the memory of those steps. You didn't imagine them. You're sure of it. And yet, you didn't find anything. No open door, no footprints. Still, your thoughts circle endlessly around that brief moment, wondering if you missed something. Eventually, exhaustion pulls you under, but not before you glance one last time at the door, as if expecting it to shift. But it doesn't. It remains, like everything else in your apartment, exactly where it always has been. Quiet, unmoving. Morning arrives gently. The storm has passed, but the sky remains soft and grey, as if unsure whether it wants to return to blue. You move slowly, your body reluctant to leave the cocoon of sleep. The apartment feels colder than usual, the floor cool beneath your feet as you pad toward the kitchen. As you pass the hallway, your eye catches something odd. You stop. There, right in the middle of the wooden floor, are footprints. Dark, damp, clearly human. A trail of bare feet, as if someone walked through your living room while you slept. You don't move at first. You just stare. The prints don't go to or from the door. They start in the center of the room and fade near the window. No puddles, no mud, just moisture. You kneel slowly, reaching out to touch one. It's wet, but not cold, and it's already beginning to dry. You look around. The door is locked. The chain's still in place. The windows are closed. The curtains unmoved. No sign of forced entry. No sign of anyone, really. Just the footprints and the echo of something unspoken. A strange calm settles over you. You should be afraid, but you aren't. Not yet. You rise and sit back on the couch, your gaze lingering on the trail of prints like a puzzle missing its pieces. Someone or something was here, and not by accident. The realization doesn't scare you. It intrigues you. You've been alone for so long, maybe too long, and now, for the first time in months, your world feels just a little bit less empty. You find yourself walking around the apartment in slow circles, like orbiting some invisible center. The footprints remain there, as if waiting to be read. Not messy, not rushed, each one evenly spaced. The heel-to-toe impression gentle yet unmistakably human. There's no sign of smudging, no dragging of weight like someone stumbling in. Whoever made these walked calmly, carefully, barefoot and silent. You look to the window where the trail ends. There's no latch broken, no open gap. The sill is dry. You press your palm to the glass, cool but sealed. Your apartment is on the second floor with no balcony, no fire escape, just open air between your window and the quiet, wet alley below. No footprints lead to the door either. The trail starts in the middle of your living room, as though the person just appeared. You grab a towel from the kitchen, but instead of wiping the prints away, you kneel next to them, studying the shape. They're not large, not small either, perhaps belonging to someone of average size. You can't tell the age or gender from them. There's nothing dramatic here, no sharp mystery to clutch, just these wet, quiet traces of presence. You imagine the person who made them, standing there, pausing, deciding where to go. Were they watching you as you slept? Were they lost? Were they trying to say something? The idea feels ridiculous and yet oddly comforting, like believing in ghosts, not because you're afraid of them, but because you're afraid no one would ever visit at all. Eventually you rise again, not ready to erase the marks. They are the first sign in a long time that something in your life is moving. Outside, the sky hangs low and grey, a pale dome that presses gently on the rooftops and wires. The rain has stopped, but the ground remains slick, reflecting broken pieces of the morning like a puzzle too blurry to solve. You open the window briefly to let in the scent of wet concrete and leaf rot. The air is cool and smells like the past. It reminds you of somewhere you can't quite place. Someone, maybe. You wonder again if the prints are a prank, but who would go to such effort? No one you know has a key, and you haven't exactly been the social type. You work from home, or order groceries online, and have your packages left at the door. Even the neighbors don't knock. They pass by like ghosts in their own stories, rarely offering more than a nod in the hallway. You like it that way, or you thought you did. As the day stretches on, the prints begin to fade, drying into faint smudges. You resist the urge to photograph them, afraid that capturing them might make them vanish faster, like catching mist in your hands. You try to get on with your day. You make coffee. You answer emails. But you keep glancing at the floor, each time expecting the prints to be gone. Or worse, multiply. But they stay still, harmless, and by late afternoon they're nearly gone. Like a passing thought that never fully formed. You finally wipe the floor, moving slowly, almost reverently, like you're cleaning away the last breath of a dream. As you press the cloth to the wood, you whisper quietly to the empty air. Why now? You don't expect an answer. You don't receive one. That night, the rain returns, softer than before. The sound taps gently at your windows, like someone with delicate fingers asking to come in. You sit again on your usual spot, hands around a mug you barely drink from, listening. Not watching TV, not reading, just listening. The silence in your apartment feels deeper now, like it's waiting alongside you. The rain picks up slightly, dancing across the roof. You begin to wonder foolishly whether the steps might come again. You even keep the hallway light off, as if afraid light might scare away whatever presence came before. The hours stretch, shadows crawl along the walls, but the footsteps do not return, just rain. Gentle, rhythmic, endless rain. When you eventually lie down, the air feels more still than usual. You don't close the door to your room. You leave it cracked like an invitation. You lie facing the hallway, your eyes open longer than you expect. Every creak, every shift in the wind outside makes your ears twitch, your breath pause. But there are no footsteps, no strange sounds, only the soft, ceaseless tapping of the storm and the quiet thump of your heart. You fall asleep without remembering when it happens. Your dreams are fragmented, full of water and fog and doors that lead to nowhere. Someone calls your name in them, once, and though the voice is quiet, it stays with you even after waking. You try to remember it the next morning, but it drifts like mist, familiar yet untouchable. The next day you buy a small notebook. You tell yourself it's for work, but when you open the first page, you title it Rain Notes. You begin writing down what time the rain begins and ends, what you felt when it started, what dreams came after. You write down the number of steps you think you heard, if any. It feels absurd, a little childish, but it also feels like a way to hold on to something that may not come again. You sit by the window more often now, waiting for the clouds to gather. You become attuned to their slow swell and the changing light, the smell of the rain before it even begins. You've stopped listening to music. You don't want to miss the first step if it returns. On the third rainy evening since the footprints appeared, you find yourself whispering into the quiet. I'm here. Just those two words. Not a plea, not a challenge. Just a statement of presence, like opening a door. You almost laugh at yourself afterward, but something about the way the apartment seems to breathe with you keeps the laughter from leaving your mouth. It isn't fear you feel, it's curiosity, and maybe something softer, something close to loneliness. You've lived long in silence, in stillness, but the wet marks on your floor reminded you that you don't have to be entirely untouched by the world, even if it reaches out to you with bare feet in the middle of the night, one step at a time. The rain returns like a trusted rhythm, sometimes heavy, sometimes barely a whisper, but always with its own quiet certainty. You've begun to track it with a kind of reverence, like documenting tides or moon phases. The small notebook on your coffee table is now filled with pencil notes, timestamps, mood descriptions, cloud formations, faint diagrams of the apartment and where the footprints had appeared. You hadn't meant for it to turn into a ritual, but it has. Each night, the sky darkens with rain. You find yourself holding your breath. You wait for the sound. That steady, careful cadence. Those quiet steps across old wood. But for several nights, nothing comes. Only the rain, your constant companion, pattering gently like lullabies sung from the rooftops. You begin to doubt what you heard that first night, and especially what you saw. Memory, after all, is a fragile thing, malleable, prone to suggestion. But every time you walk through the spot where the prince had appeared, you feel something. A hush in the air. A change in pressure. As though the room remembers. The notebook helps anchor you at least. It gives form to something otherwise shapeless. You've even begun writing down your dreams. The ones filled with waterlogged stairwells, windows that open onto black oceans, strangers in doorways who never step forward. You wake with their shadows still clinging to you, and always. The soft echo of footsteps, fading as your eyes open. A whisper left behind by sleep, or something more. It's on the 6th night that the steps return. You almost missed them at first. The rain had come earlier than expected. A slow build from the afternoon until it blanketed the evening with a steady hum. You'd been sitting on the couch, not waiting, at least not consciously, just sipping tea and letting the sound wash over you. Then a soft creak, then another. You sit still, hot, barely stirring, ears sharpened like a string pulled tight. 3 steps, 4. They move from the hallway again toward the living room, but never quite reach it. You wait, unmoving. The sound stops. You rise slowly, not bothering with the light, and walk carefully toward where the steps had come from. The hallway is still, dim, familiar. You scan the floor, but it's too soon, too dark, to see if anything is there. You return to the living room and wait until morning. The rain continues through the night, steady and untroubled. You sleep lightly, your ears tilted toward every sound, your dreams thinner than usual. By dawn, you rise with a kind of nervous hope. You walk to the hallway barefoot, your feet quiet against the floorboards. And there they are, new footprints, faint, fewer this time, just a small arc of prints from the edge of the hallway into the threshold of the room. Like someone peeking in, unsure whether to come closer. You kneel again, tracing the shapes. They're the same size as before, the same steady weight. You feel no fear, just a kind of shared stillness, as if you've stumbled into a conversation spoken in another language, but one whose tone you recognize deep inside. You record the prints in your notebook. The pattern is different this time. They're not centered. They curve slightly, cautious. And that, more than anything, makes it feel alive, intentional. This isn't repetition, it's interaction. You sit cross-legged beside them and stare for what must be 20 minutes, trying to place your own feet alongside them without disturbing the marks. You wonder, why only in the rain? Why only those steps? And why now, after all this time alone? You don't have answers, only questions that settle into the corners of the apartment, like the scent of rain-soaked wood. You look out the window. The clouds stretch like fading ink across the sky. Something has changed. That evening, you set an extra cup of tea on the table. It's a silly gesture, but it feels right. You don't expect anything to drink it. You don't even expect the steps to come again. But the act of placing it there, opposite your usual seat, makes the space feel more open, less like a solitary island and more like a shared room. The candlelight flickers softly. The rain returns after dark. And again, you hear them, slower this time. 1, 2, pause. 3. The steps never enter fully into the room, but their presence is unmistakable. You don't stand. You don't move. You simply breathe deeply and listen, letting the sound ripple through you like a secret. When the silence returns, it's gentle, not empty. The prints appear again in the morning, slightly overlapping the ones from before. You begin to map them out, not just in your notebook, but now using tiny bits of chalk on the floor, faint outlines that let you see the movement, the flow. It looks like a dance or a hesitant approach. You mark each one and sit back, studying the shapes. You speak aloud for the first time since it began. Why only when it rains? Your voice sounds strange in the quiet. You wonder if it feels strange to the footsteps too. But there's no reply. Just the echo of your own voice curling softly into the silence like mist. Still, it feels like something has been acknowledged. Later that night, as the storm swells again, you leave the notebook open with a pen beside it, just in case. The steps return, closer this time. You hear them pass the hallway threshold, entering the living room. 5, 6, then pause. You close your eyes, not in fear, but in welcome. You whisper, "I hear you." The steps do not continue, but they also do not retreat. There's a kind of invisible company in the room now, delicate and solemn. You don't dare move. You listen until the rain fades and sleep pulls you under like a soft tide. When you wake in the morning, there is no message in the notebook, but the footprints are there again, standing beside your chair. A stillness left behind. You begin to wonder if the footprints belong to someone who once lived here. The idea creeps in slowly, like morning fog through a half-open window, quiet, shapeless, but insistent. Your building is old, older than you ever cared to think about. You moved in for the solitude, the silence, the way it seemed to tuck itself out of sight. The hallways always smelled faintly of dust and warm wood. The kind of scent that never quite leaves, no matter how many times you mop or air it out. You never asked about its history, never wondered who might have paced these floors before you. But now, with every footstep that arrives only with the rain, you feel the presence of someone who maybe never really left. You visit the building office for the first time in over a year. The clerk, a soft-spoken man with a stack of crossword puzzles beside his monitor, barely glances at you. When you ask about the unit's previous tenants, he shrugs and taps a few keys. That unit's had long-term renters, he mutters. Not a lot of turnover. Before you, that'd be Miss Elira. Quiet type, kept to herself. Lived there for, what, 10 years? He pauses, frowns. Moved out a couple years before you came. Died, I think. Heart thing. Not in the apartment, though. I'd remember that. You thank him and return upstairs, the name echoing softly in your head like the first few notes of a forgotten song. Elira. There's something about it that feels close to the rain. That night, the rain arrives suddenly. No slow build-up, no wind, just a clean, full pour, as if the sky had been holding its breath all day. You sit at your window with your now familiar ritual. Candlelight, warm mug, notebook open, a second cup resting untouched across the table. You whisper the name this time. Elira. You're not sure what you expect. A breeze, a creak, a drop in temperature. But all you hear are the footsteps. They begin in the hallway as always. But this time they don't stop at the threshold. They come closer. Into the living room, past the table. 7 steps. 8. They stop just behind you. You don't turn around. You just close your eyes, every muscle in your body calm and ready. You say again, "I'm listening." In the morning you find something strange. Not just the usual set of footprints, but a damp patch on your armchair, as if someone had sat there in silence while you slept. You press your fingers to the cushion, feel the cold spot that hasn't yet dried. It's impossible, and yet it's there. You look to the chalk outlines on the floor, now muddled, smudged, as though brushed aside by movement. Someone was here, not just passing through, sitting, present. The thought should unsettle you, but it doesn't. It feels like sharing your space with an echo. You wonder again if these visits are memories playing out on repeat, or if something or someone is reaching forward from the past to touch the present. You spend the afternoon researching, not on ghost forums, not yet, but property records, local obituaries. You find her after an hour. Elira Jeanette, age 64, lived alone, described as quiet, artistic, with no known family listed. Cause of death, heart failure during a visit to the coast. You find a grainy photo of her at some community art fair, paintbrush in hand, a faint smile that doesn't quite reach the edges. The background is blurred, but behind her is a painting, something abstract, all shades of rain and fog. You stare at it far longer than you mean to. The colors match your dreams. You print the image and tack it beside your notebook. Not for proof, but for company. When the rain returns, it's softer than before, like a memory of rain rather than the thing itself. You light the candle again, set the table. You speak aloud this time. Elira, if it's you, I see you. It feels strange, speaking to someone you've never met, someone who may no longer be entirely real. But the air responds. The steps come again. This time they circle the table slowly. 1, 2, 3. You feel the softest brush of cold near your shoulder. Not enough to call it a touch, but enough to still your breath. You don't ask questions. You don't seek answers. You just remain there, still and open, letting the sound of the rain fold around you like pages in a story you forgot you once knew. Over the next few nights, the pattern deepens. Always rain, always footsteps, but now more than just walking. You hear the gentle clink of your teacup being nudged. The curtain moves slightly, even when the windows are shut. One evening, a drawer slides open an inch without your touch. And once, when you doze off on the couch, you awaken to find your blanket pulled slightly higher across your chest. It's not frightening. It's not dramatic. It's like sharing space with someone polite and careful. Someone who remembers what it was like to be alive and doesn't want to disturb you. You write more in the notebook now. Entries no longer clinical, but full of emotion. She came closer tonight, one reads. I think she knows I'm here too. You start to speak to her, not always aloud. Sometimes only in thought, as though projecting them out into the space around you. You wonder if she listens. If, perhaps, she's relieved not to be forgotten. The footprints have become your conversation, her language. You wait for them eagerly, a signal that connection is still possible, even in the quiet, even after endings. The chair is often damp now, not soaked, just a soft, cold impression after every rainy night. It's become normal, expected. You no longer wipe it dry. You leave it for her, a place that's hers when the sky begins to fall. The next morning brings dry skies, and with them, a strange emptiness. The apartment feels quieter than usual, like a concert hall after the music has faded. You walk the length of your hallway, bare feet, touching floorboards that hold no prints today. The chalk outlines have mostly worn away, rubbed thin by time, or perhaps intentionally blurred. You don't redraw them. There's a growing sense now that the boundaries you once tried to define, between then and now, real and unreal, no longer matter. Instead, you listen for subtler things, the hum of the refrigerator, the groan of the pipes, the sound of your own breath filling the spaces she once stepped through. On clear days, the silence feels heavier, but silence never stays long. That evening, clouds gather in slow, moody waves. You watch them roll in from the east, stacking over the horizon like forgotten memories returning to roost. By nightfall, the first raindrops tap gently against your window pane, as if asking permission to enter. You light your usual candle, place 2 cups of tea on the table, and sit quietly. There's no longer a sense of anticipation, only a quiet agreement, a rhythm. When the steps come, almost too soft to hear, you don't flinch. You welcome them. She walks the edge of the room again, a familiar circle, until the sound fades behind you. You close your eyes and whisper, "You're safe here." That night, something changes. You dream again, but this time, it isn't the endless corridors or endless water. Instead, you're in your own living room, seated exactly where you'd fallen asleep. The candle still flickers. The rain still hums. But across from you sits a woman, her form faint like fog, her face turned only slightly toward the light. She says nothing at first, but her gaze holds yours. In the dream, you don't speak. You simply wait, as though you've always known what this moment was for. Then, softly, she lifts one hand and points downward, to the floor, to the place where the prints always begin. And though her mouth never moves, you hear something, not like speech, but like a thought carried on rain. "You hear me now?" You wake slowly, the dream still lingering like the scent of rain on fabric. Your heart beats gently, not in fear, but in awe. The prints are there, of course, curved again, around the table and to your chair. But one new mark stands apart from the rest. A single, clear footprint facing the window, like someone had stood still, looking out at the night. You walk to the spot, kneel beside it, and place your hand against the wet imprint. It's cold, but you don't withdraw. You close your eyes and try to remember the sound of her voice. Not words, but presence. The echo beneath the rain. You whisper again, "I hear you." In the following days, you begin to speak more, not just to her, but in general. Your voice, once rarely used except for grocery runs or the occasional call, begins to find new life. You read aloud from old books. You hum absent-mindedly as you make tea. You speak your thoughts when alone. The apartment responds, not with voices, but with warmth. The candlelight flickers longer. The air seems to hold sound more tenderly. You write more letters in your notebook, not observations, but notes to her. I hope it's peaceful where you are. I think the rain carries you here. Was this your favorite chair too? You never get replies, but each rain feels like a conversation nonetheless. One afternoon, while organizing books on a shelf you rarely touch, a slip of paper falls from between 2 hardcovers. It's yellowed. its edges curled, and at first you think it's a misplaced receipt. But then you see the writing, neat cursive in dark ink. It's a poem, short, quiet. A few lines about rain tapping at glass, about the way silence can hold someone's memory better than words. At the bottom is a name, E. Jeanette. Your breath catches. This wasn't yours. You run your fingers over the words, letting the ink press softly into your skin. You wonder how long it had waited to be found. If she'd placed it there as a seed, hoping someone would eventually water it. The next night, you read it aloud. You light the candle, pour the tea, and with the steady rhythm of rain at your window, you speak her words into the room. You read slowly, letting each syllable hang in the air like perfume. When you finish, you sit in silence, and it's then you hear something new. Not the steps, not the creaks, but a soft breath. Just one, barely audible, but real. A sound that doesn't belong to the apartment or to the night, but to someone who is finally exhaling. You don't move. You just close your eyes and sit with it, letting the quiet hold you both. There's a peace that begins to settle in after that night. The prints still come, but less often. The chair is sometimes damp, sometimes dry. The dreams are fewer but clearer. When the rain falls, you still light the candle, still pour the second cup. But now there's a feeling that something has shifted, not ended, but eased. You suspect she's beginning to rest. Perhaps the message has been received. Perhaps the silence she left behind has finally become a voice. And maybe, just maybe, the footprints will someday stop. Not because she's gone, but because she's home. It's been 5 days since the last rainfall. And in that time, the apartment has grown quiet, in a way that feels both restful and uncertain. The days are warm and windless, the clouds thin and shy. You find yourself standing by the window more often than usual, fingers grazing the glass, waiting for the gentle percussion of raindrops that no longer come. It's strange to miss something you once feared. Stranger still to miss someone you never truly met. Yet you do. You miss the hush of her steps and the conversations held without words. You miss the comfort of the second teacup growing cold across from you. More than anything, you miss the sense of being reached for, of being chosen as the witness to something so quiet and human it could only be called longing. You begin leaving small things around the apartment for her. Though she no longer makes herself known, a new poem folded neatly beneath the chair's cushion, a drawing you made in pencil of the dreamscape corridor, taped beside the light switch. You even begin humming the same 4-note tune as you move through the space, wondering if she might remember it, or if perhaps it's something she left behind and you've only just discovered it again. The objects aren't offerings. They're reminders, to her, to yourself, that she mattered, that the space she once inhabited still bears the shape of her. You start to feel that this act, more than any ritual, is your quiet thank you for not being left behind when the silence chose her first. Late in the afternoon, as you sort through a box of old letters and receipts from your own past, a box long sealed and ignored, you find a water-damaged envelope. No name, no stamp, only your own handwriting on the back. Don't forget who you were. You don't remember writing it. Inside is a blank page, warped from moisture long since dried. It feels like an echo, like something meant to find you only now. You hold the paper to the light, tilt it gently, and beneath the surface, Faint lines of pressure begin to reveal themselves. Handwriting without ink, as if someone wrote in silence and hope. You trace your fingers over it, and though you cannot read what it says, the act of touching it makes you feel, for a moment, less alone. That night, you dream again. Not of her exactly, but of a room that no longer exists. It is filled with paintings, some abstract, others full of rain-soaked windows and blurred silhouettes. You walk its quiet halls, candle in hand, the air filled with the faint scent of oil and damp canvas. You pass one frame that feels familiar and pause. It's a painting of your apartment, down to the mug on the table, the flickering candle, the chalk outlines of footprints curling near the door. But there's a difference. In the painting, the window is open, curtains billow, and outside, it's not raining, it's calm, bathed in soft light. You wake before you reach it, your breath still caught in your throat. You rise before dawn, the dream still thick behind your eyes. The room feels heavier than usual. You move to the window and, almost without thinking, you unlock it and ease it open. The wind is gentle, stirring the curtains just enough to mimic the motion from your dream. You wait. Not for footsteps, not for breath, but for something less defined. A shift, a presence, an invitation. The apartment holds its breath with you. And then you hear it, a creak, so soft it might be imagined, from the direction of the chair. You don't turn, you simply whisper, the window's open now. You can go if you need to. Later, when the sun is fully up, you check the floor. No prints, not even a damp mark near the chair. For the first time in weeks, the surface is untouched. You stand still, listening. The silence has changed again. It no longer feels like waiting. It feels like after, like something has been released. You pour one cup of tea instead of two and sit with it, letting the quiet settle in. There's no sadness in the air, only the gentlest trace of farewell. And for the first time you drink both cups, one for you, one for her. The warmth fills your chest in a way that no chill ever could. The next few days are warm, still, cloudless. You open the windows more often, let the air roll through. You begin moving objects around your apartment, not cleaning, not erasing, but reshaping. You place the printed photo of Elira's painting near your front door, framed now. The poem she wrote remains folded beneath the chair cushion. You no longer trace outlines on the floor, but the chalk rests nearby just in case. When you pass the hall mirror, you sometimes pause and glance twice, not in fear, but in hope. Sometimes you think you see her, not clearly, not really, just a shift in the reflection, a soft shadow at your shoulder. But it never lingers, and you never ask it to stay. One night, as the sky begins to cloud once more, you find yourself sitting with the candle again. There is no teacup across from you this time. You don't prepare one. You don't feel the need. The rain is light, scattered. It taps gently, like fingers on a piano played from memory. You listen, but there are no footsteps, no sounds beyond the night itself. You smile, just a little, and whisper one last time, "Thank you for coming home." You blow out the candle, close the notebook, and lean back. In the hush that follows, the world feels newly whole, not because everything is understood, but because something unsaid has finally been heard. You spend more time outside now. Walks in the morning. Coffee on the small balcony you used to ignore. There's a slowness to everything, a kind of deliberate softness. You start noticing things you used to miss. The way leaves turn ever so slightly before a change in weather. The song of a bird that always lands on the same wire at dawn. Life moves, and you move with it. Yet some part of you still waits, not out of longing, but readiness. You've come to understand that rain will always mean more to you now. It will always carry the echo of her steps, the hush of her breath, the softness of her sorrow. But it no longer frightens you. It no longer feels like something unfinished. If anything, it feels like a promise kept. And then, one evening, the rain returns. It arrives without drama, no thunder, no warning wind. Just a gentle, steady curtain of water, falling like a whispered secret onto the roof above you. You're at the window when it begins, fingers resting on the sill. You don't move to light the candle. You don't set out the tea. Instead, you just watch. The glass fogs slowly with the dampness in the air, and through it, the world becomes a blur of lights and motion. You listen, not for footsteps, not for signs, but simply to the sound of rain being rain. And in that stillness, in that quiet knowing, you feel something deep inside your chest open like a window left ajar. It's been 2 weeks since the last rain. The apartment has held steady in its new stillness, as though it, too, has settled into a new rhythm. You no longer glance behind your shoulder when walking down the hall, and the old habit of checking for footprints each morning has quietly faded. There's no more need for the chalk, and the second teacup has found a home in the cupboard again, not forgotten, but no longer ceremonial. The space around you feels lighter now, the kind of lightness that comes not from absence but from acceptance. You no longer carry her presence as a mystery to be solved, but as a quiet truth that has woven itself gently into your daily breath. There's a comfort in this, like waking up from a long dream and finding your feet finally touching solid ground. Over the next few weeks, the rain comes and goes. Sometimes heavy, sometimes gentle. Sometimes it lasts hours. Other times, just long enough to remind you that the world is still soft and strange and sacred in its small ways. The apartment remains still. The second cup stays in its place, and the chalk untouched. But the story doesn't end, because you still carry her. Not as a ghost, not as a mystery, but as a footprint etched into who you are now. Every time you walk from the kitchen to the window, every time you pause at the sound of rain and smile, you carry her. You were never haunted. You were visited. You were trusted with her echoes, and now they live in you. One morning, long after the last rain has dried, you find something unexpected. On the small table by the door, where you never place anything, rests a single petal, pale blue, damp at the edges. You don't own flowers. You haven't opened the door yet today. You pick it up gently, hold it in your palm, and look towards the chair. No one is there. No sign of movement. But you nod anyway. You walk to your notebook and press the petal between 2 pages. Between a poem you wrote for her and a blank page waiting for something new. You close it gently, letting the silence hold both past and present, without needing to explain either. You walk the apartment slowly, not searching, remembering the places she used to walk, the curves of her journey, the way the water always marked a path, not toward fear, but toward connection. At the chair, you pause, you sit, and this time you speak not to her, but to the space itself. Thank you for letting me hear her. The words feel natural, weightless. Somewhere in the rafters, the wood groans gently, like a house taking a breath. You lean your head back and close your eyes, and that's when you hear it. Not a step, not even a creak, but something else entirely. A laugh, soft, fleeting, so faint it could have been imagined. But you know better. You've stopped looking for answers. Instead, you look for rain, not because it brings her, but because it brings you back to yourself. It reminds you of stillness, of softness, of the beauty in hearing things that can't be spoken. You walk differently now, more slowly. You listen more. You say thank you more often. To the weather, to the floor, to the wind at your window. You've become the echo that once reached out. And somewhere, wherever she is, you believe she knows. Not because she left a sign, but because you no longer need one. When you open your eyes, the apartment feels warmer. No one is there. No footprints mark the floor. But the air holds something. Presence, maybe, or memory. You stand, walk to the window again, and this time you open it wide. The rain blows in slightly, dampening the sill and your fingertips. But you don't flinch. You let it in. You think of the poem she wrote, still folded beneath the cushion. You think of the dream painting of the open window, the way her voice was never really a voice at all, but something quieter. You understand now that it was never about solving anything. It was about staying long enough to listen, long enough to matter. And when it rains again, as it surely will, you won't light the candle or draw the chalk or make the tea. You'll open the window, let the air in, and simply whisper, "Welcome back." Not to a ghost, not to a shadow, but to a memory that never asked to be solved, only seen, only heard, only held. And now, as the final words of our story settle into the quiet, let your thoughts drift like raindrops sliding slowly down a window. There's no rush, no need to hold on to every detail. Just let the feeling remain. The soft hush of unanswered questions. The warmth of connection that needs no explanation. The comfort of knowing that even in solitude, we are never truly alone. Let the rhythm of the rain carry you deeper into rest, and trust that whatever lingers in the shadows is only watching over you with quiet care. You are safe here. This story has wrapped you gently in its arms, and now it lets you go softly. Your breathing is slower now, your body heavier in the best way. The mystery has faded, not with fear, but with peace. Some things don't need to be understood to be meaningful. Some visits leave no footprints behind, only a warmth that stays long after. As you prepare to sleep, know that this space will always be here for you, whenever the world grows loud or the night feels long. Just press play, close your eyes, and let your thoughts wander with us again. Until then, rest well, sleep deeply, and may you dream of rain, not as a storm, but as a whisper. Good night.